Hey everybody, I'm John and this is Blind Whiskey Reviews. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews, the most honest reviews on YouTube. As always, if you like the videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you know every time I'm uploading a new video and every time I'm starting a new live stream. Also, don't forget, if you like the videos, give me that thumbs up. That way YouTube knows you're liking what I'm doing and helps give my videos and spread them out to more people. So, tonight, we're doing another last pour segment where I tell you my thoughts on these three whiskeys from top to bottom and share the last pour of the bottle with you guys. So you guys know what's going on with the whiskey, is it worth buying, and I can let you know if I'll be buying another one of these bottles of these whiskeys again. So can't wait to get into it. Let's get to the first one. All right, so we're going to be starting with the classic Woodford Reserve. And I have reviewed this whiskey before, so if you'd like to check out that review, I will link it up here so you can check out the actual full review of this whiskey from when I opened the bottle. So, for me, Woodford is one of those whiskeys a lot of people like to go to when they start drinking bourbon. It's got a pretty good flavor profile. It's pretty sweet. It's got a pretty, I would say, uncomplicated profile. If you ask them, they tell you they've got 200 and some flavors in this bottle, but I mean realistically it's got a pretty mellow flavor profile. The flavors are pretty sweet. It's not a very spicy profile, so you're staying kind of in that sweet range, which a lot of beginners like to drink. So yeah, I mean, it smells like Woodford. Woodford's got a very distinct smell and, to me, taste, and I think it ends up coming off a little bit light on the palate. It's not very flavor forward in the sense that it's not packing a punch, which I think this comes in at 90.4 proof. It should have a little bit more pack a little bit more punch to it. So, you know, it's one of those things. Let's get a taste here. Cheers. As always, you know, like I said, it's a good, standard, drinkable whiskey. Great for beginners. Great for someone who's trying to explore a few of those basic, very quintessential bourbon characters. It's very good for that. It's nothing that's going to knock your socks off necessarily. Again, a lot of, and me included with the whiskey, is that when I first had Woodford, when I was first getting into whiskey, I thought it was amazing. And over time, as you get more development of your palate and you drink more, you know, get the ability to drink more whiskeys and spread your kind of whiskey wings, you kind of find that this doesn't quite do it for you anymore, and that's how it is for me. I think it's perfectly good whiskey, very drinkable, good flavors, good profile, good balance, and good price. Like, this is the 1.75 liter bottle, which you can pick up for somewhere around $50 to $60, but you can pick up the 750 milliliter bottle for somewhere around, you know, $25, which makes it a great value. So, will I be buying another bottle of Woodford? Probably not. Just not something I'm going to be seeking out for the flavor profile and the power that it packs. I'm looking for a little bit more, but definitely a great whiskey for anybody that's trying to get into whiskey or trying to get somebody else into whiskey. So, will I be buying a bottle? No, but that's no reason that you shouldn't. All right, everybody, moving on to Baker's. So, again, I have reviewed this whiskey. Actually, I've reviewed it twice, two separate bottles. I'll link the second review up here. If any of you that have been following my channel for a while, I did a review of Baker's quite a while ago, and the first bottle I got was a bad bottle. Something was wrong with it, but I did have a great experience with Jim Beam. They asked me some questions about the whiskey, and they ended up refunding my money for the bottle so I could go purchase another one. So, again, thank you to Jim Beam, and let's talk about this Baker's. This whiskey, for me, is awesome. I love the flavor profile. I'm a fan of Jim Beam and what they do, although, you know, when people think of Jim Beam, they always think of Jim Beam White Label, which I think is a disservice to some of the other Jim Beam products. While White Label isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, it's certainly not one of those whiskeys I'm ever going to be seeking out. Now, Baker's, on the other hand, along with Booker's and Knob Creek, and even to some extent Basil Hayden, they're totally different whiskeys. They pack way more punch, way more flavor. So for me, this is one of my favorite of the Jim Beam line. And it's not necessarily because it packs the biggest punch, because obviously the heavy hitter is always going to be Booker's. But I think it's one of those great whiskeys where it comes in at just the perfect proof point that you can enjoy it at 107 proof. It brings a lot of flavor, it brings a little heat, but it's not overwhelming. You know, Booker's oftentimes can really just punch you in the face, and it's got so much heat it kind of overwhelms the flavor. So that's not what we're getting here. This has got a great balance of flavor, a good amount of heat, but not too much, and the flavor profile is amazing. And with a 7-year age statement and at a $40-ish price point, I think it's a great value. So let's take a sip here and see how it's doing. Yeah, as it has been the whole way through. This bottle's been open for somewhere, I think about 6 months or so. And it hasn't changed a whole lot since I opened the bottle. The profile stayed very similar to how it was when it started, and it's still great. It's got a great flavor profile, great amount of flavor. I will definitely be picking up another bottle of Baker's at some point in the future, and I recommend that you do too. All right, and on to our final bottle today, which will be the Knob Creek Single Barrel. This particular bottle is a store pick that was aged about 13 years, which is a little bit more than the what it says on the label, which it says aged 9 years. So this one's definitely packing a little bit more of that woody flavor, a little bit more of that aged profile. And the reason I reviewed this, because oftentimes, you know, there's not much point in reviewing a store pick because you guys can't get the same pick that I can get, and vice versa. So, but in this case, the Knob Creek store picks are pretty widely available around the country, and many of them have these extra aged whiskeys in them. It's very common to find these Knob Creeks in the 12 to 14-year-old range, and at a price point of $50, the value is pretty much unbeatable. This bottle was amazing from top to bottom. I will say that I've had this bottle open for quite a while. It's coming up on a year, and I will say that over the last few months, it has probably deteriorated slightly. I would say this bottle was at its best probably in the first 2/3 or so, and this last third, while it's still great whiskey, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's bad whiskey, but it was better in the top 2/3 than it is in the bottom 2/3. So I would definitely say if you got a bottle of this stuff, don't sit on it too incredibly long. You know, you can slowly work your way through it, but I would try to get through a bottle of this stuff in about the 6-month range. It was really when it was best. But let's take a sip here. Cheers. Oh, and again, I've reviewed this whiskey, I believe twice. I've done a speedy sample review of it, and I did an initial bottle review. So I will link both of those reviews up here in the corner if you want to check those out. Yeah, still fantastic whiskey. Packing all those beautiful bourbon flavors that you want. The caramels, the brown sugars, the slight fruitiness, that little nutty character you get from Jim Beam. There's a good amount of heat here, a lot of power, but it's not, the alcohol isn't what's overwhelming it. A lot of times you get whiskeys that are high proof, and sometimes that alcohol can overwhelm the flavor of the whiskey, and you're tasting more alcohol than you are the flavors that you want, and that's not the case here. This one is so flavor forward. All these big bold flavors come through and just give you a punch right in the palate. It's such a good, delicious, ramped up whiskey. And as I said, these go for somewhere about, and you can even find them cheaper, but ballpark $50. Sometimes you can find them as cheap as $40, which makes them, again, an almost unbeatable value in the whiskey world, and especially if you can find one that is aged in the 14-year-old range. So, again, I have already bought a few more bottles of different Knob Creek single barrel store picks, and I will continue to do so because it's one of my favorite whiskeys to pick up out there. So I will be buying more bottles, and I hope you will too. So thank you for joining me again tonight for this segment of The Last Pour. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be trying to bring these as often as I can. I'm making it a goal to be emptying out some more bottles as I have, because of the whiskey review thing that I've been doing on this channel. I open a lot of bottles, and I tend to not continue to go back to some of these great bottles that you can miss out on if you're sitting on them too long. And I'm letting this whiskey sit in the bottle and slowly deteriorate over time. So enjoy your whiskey, drink your whiskey. Don't have too many open bottles. Some people out there will tell you can have as many open bottles as you want. I would tell you right now, I probably have too many open bottles. So I'm going to be focusing on trying to get through some of these, sharing more whiskey, so we can get down to the bottom of these bottles and I can give you some more last pour segments. So let me know what you think in the comments down below of any of these whiskeys. if you'll be buying them, if you've tried them, if you like them, and what you think down in the comments below. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at blind_reviews. You can send me an email at blindwhiskyreviews, that's whiskey with an E, @gmail.com. And until next time, cheers.